as far as the projections go, could a school argue that that was sort of arbitrary and therefore, the real thing would be what's the viable one? And look at Coggle that actually was exactly where it was 5 years ago.
Right.
Went through a sort of peak, but then...
Right, the principal doesn't understand. He said when he came there as the new principal of the school, he worked hard to increase the enrollment. He's continuing marketing effort and outreach, and he gave me a whole list of all the things that he's doing, and his enrollment dropped about 50. There is some reason for why that's happening with, I think it's St. Anthony's, that's rapidly expanded, that's right there. There's a couple other things that La Causa, there's some other things that have happened in the other Hispanic, that's right there, Ricardo Diaz's school. UCC is right there. So, and the other thing is Allen Field, and that isn't too far, and Longfellow, that isn't too far, their enrollments went up like 50, 60 students. So again, we're looking at parent choice and parent options in certain neighborhoods. So every one of these has a story, just so you know. And I heard them from the principals I talked to and the school leaders. And these were all real positive conversations. With regard to the projections, our projections are fairly accurate because it's based on a whole formula process that we use, not saying that, one or two along the way could have been off a bit. But at the end of the day, we're 38 below overall projections, and those projections were based on individual school projections.
Director Spence, followed by Vice President Blewett.
I think that the administration answered most of my questions in the superintendent's comments. But one other question revolving around sending and receiving data. I'm not sure if the schools have current information on that, seeing as this is just preliminary, but and each one is different, I'm sure. But before the board, when the board engages on discussions about what schools, how many schools we should have in a location, it's really good to understand the ebb and flow of students to from the school to other schools. I'm really looking at the K-5s and K-8s and asking myself, outside of those schools outside of MPS that are drawing from them, are other schools drawing from them, and why? And again, probably a varied story for all of them, but it's part of the conversation that we should have as we begin to discuss how we reorient ourselves around populations in these areas.
Yes, we first of all, I have made a strong commitment this year to visit schools every Thursday. And we have been in 39 schools now, I think, this school year. What we do now is take that analysis out to the school. So in doing that, it's really been an eye-opener for me. I go out to the school, I go in with the data that says, this is how many children from the neighborhood attend the school, how many children from outside the neighborhood attend that whole bit. And it's leave me with a strong feeling that it doesn't matter the quality of the school, because I've been in, all of our schools are outstanding, but I've been in schools that absolutely there is no reason why children from the neighborhood should not be attending these schools. And 30, 28, 27, 25, 31, 32, that's the numbers of children in the neighborhood. And we had a whole other study today, research from UWM that was talking about neighborhoods and demographics and talking about moving and housing, and it's a tremendous amount of knowledge gained from really looking at the data. But it's quite apparent in some places the concept of neighborhood doesn't exist. So for us to say that kids are going to go to a neighborhood when there isn't a concept of neighborhood, that's another piece. But the issue of choice, really feeds this. So it's a big debate. I mean, I think it's our own debate, our debate, your debate as policymakers, whether you still believe in parent choice and option, which that's what the community has embraced, or do we believe that we have schools and we're going to mandate kids that live around those schools to go to those schools. I think that's a debate. Then the other debate in this sending and receiving is I think we have to look beyond just our schools. Because in some neighborhoods, I can tell you in talking to the principals, they tell me about all the schools that have opened up in the last 3 to 4 years that are right around their schools. One in particular at La Follette has a school, brand new school that opened up, and she said, we lost 50 children instantaneously to that school, and it was not an MPS school. And she then told me of all the marketing strategies and everything she did, and La Follette didn't even come into 70% of their enrollment. They've dropped from like 400 down to 200. So I really think collectively we need to have very strong conversations about this, even to the fact, and this is maybe risky in saying this, but there might be even some neighborhoods that we need to have a different strategy. Maybe we just have a busing strategy in certain neighborhoods, not a school strategy, because the people in that neighborhood there's too many schools in there, and they're not sending their children to the schools in that neighborhood. So I think we might have to diversify some of this. I know President Bonds has done a little of that in his area of looking at all neighborhoods and different situations and coming up with a different strategy for different areas as opposed to trying to make a one-size-fits-all strategy. So yes, you're correct about the sending and receiving reports. Those analysis now, we're actually taking that right on the road, right out to the schools and working with the principals and looking at it and doing that assessment on an ongoing basis.
Just a follow-up on that. And I
Director
do,
Spence, follow.
thank you, President Bonds. I do look forward to that conversation because we have to decide where we're going to invest long-term. And I don't think anybody wants us to give up on any neighborhoods. But you're right, we've got to think differently around strategies that deal with the mobility issue, particularly in neighborhoods where that is high. So it is a discussion that's long overdue.